So who's the best? Who is the best at working with these birds? A hunting falconer? Someone that practices the true art of falconry, the taking of wild quarry in its natural state with a trained bird of prey? Or is it the person that probably flies way more different species and probably way more birds on a daily basis and all year round? The display falconer uses all those falconry training techniques and more to work with these magnificent birds wild and free, but has no interest or doesn't go hunting with their birds. Or is it none of the above? C, is it the person that actually works with birds of prey from a totally non-falconry standpoint, works with birds of prey as an animal or bird trainer, using no falconry techniques or restraints at all, and just like many birds and many animals, working with something like a food reward system for a completed task, looking at the behaviour of a bird of prey as it's just another bird, like people work with crows, or they work with parrots, or even totally weird things like chickens and turkeys. Who is actually the best at working with these birds? Well, I'm heading to the Falconry Centre, where I'm going to keep a little check on Zeus, my falconry bird, and I'm going to see what the staff are getting up to, flying their educational and display experience day birds. And I'll tell you, quite blatantly, who makes the best falconer out of those three choices. But before we go any further, guys, the signs are up and it's time for a quick advert break. Okay, just 1 week to go, everybody. The Falconer Gathering 2025. We've got falconers from as far away as Newfoundland in Canada. It is welcome to all falconers in the world. Anyone that's not even a falconer yet, anyone interested in birds of prey. These are magnificent raptors, but of course it's aimed at the falconry community worldwide. And here in the UK last year, the first ever Falconer Gathering was a resounding success. No negativity on social media. You guys told us it was brilliant. So really importantly, get on the Facebook group. That's where it's at. Click on that featured button at the top, go on the FAQs, follow the posts. We're going to have a dedicated YouTube video again coming up before, maybe by Thursday this week, because it's coming Saturday and Sunday, the Falconer Gathering. Loads of stuff going on, great fun for all falconers and a real good social. So to answer the question, it's the person that can do all of them. The person that understands falconry, the person that understands training birds of prey for displays and educational purposes, and if that person then understands bird training techniques completely aside from falconry techniques, you are going to have someone that potentially is a wizard at training birds of prey. So who's best? Falconer, let's have a think. Most falconers, I'm going to say actually most falconers, because we're all at different levels, by very rights, there's only a few people that are exemplary. The people that I see flying, and I don't see them, but I see them posting really good articles and posts on social media that are flying really good birds on grouse moors, and the people that are flying sparrowhawks through an entire season and another season and another season, the same bird. The people I see are very occasionally flying merlins, and the way they handle and feed their birds, you can see there are some people that are way above the rest of us with their skills and their bird handling. So most falconers, they train their birds in a very textbook parrot fashion style. Well, this is how my friend trains his goshawk, and he was trained by Fred, and that's how Fred trained him, and he was trained by John, and John did it to the letter from Philip Glazier's book. Let's say parrot fashion handed down. They don't think of their birds as an individual when it comes to training. They train their birds more to species than anything else. This is how you should work with a goshawk or a falcon or so on and so forth. They don't take in any nuances of their personal bird's mentality, their individual bird's mind. And even if they do all of that, for the most part, falconry is a very simplistic thing, isn't it? You're getting a bird manned, tamed to you and the immediate surroundings you're going to work in, so the bird hasn't got fear of all the things going on. You're taming it in any of the contests, but we man it, don't we? Because we don't want to infer that these things are pets. And traditional language is very important, keeping hold of that traditional falconry language and skills. And then you're getting the bird so used to you, it will eat in your company, and when it kills something, which it's kind of naturally programmed to go and do when it's got an appetite, a sufficient appetite, you can approach the bird without scaring it off. Everything else is finer details, but that's it. You're getting the bird unafraid of its surroundings and so unafraid of you, or when it kills something while it's free, which it naturally would do in the wild when it had a keen appetite, you won't scare the bird away when you approach it. And you build on that, don't you? You build on your manners, your hooding skills, picking the bird up without a fight, without feeling robbed, and so on. But it is quite a basic thing. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it is very simplistic. When you are, and most falconers are flying their birds in the quiet of the countryside, where, yes, they might see a tractor, they might see a dog walker, but in general, it's a very kind of a natural setting for them, within reason. When it comes to working with all these different birds for displays, what does the display falconer have over the ordinary hunting falconer? By their very nature, someone that's worked as someone that's been a falconer for several years, generally is going to fly one bird, or not many individual birds at all, and not that many species if they're doing a good job, to be honest. The display falconer over several years works with many different species and many different individuals within a species, ranging from stubborn and difficult huge eagle owls to tiny American kestrels and everything in between. So that display falconer is often berated by falconers, I'm going to do this too many times, but a rabbit, is much higher skilled at working with birds of prey, much higher skilled. We're talking a reasonably good display falconer and a reasonably good falconer. They work with so many species with a massive different weight range, and they have to work in a much harder setting. They have to work with strangers on a regular basis. They have to work in a very man-made setting, most display falconers. And then when you talk about falconers that then put on falconry displays off-site in strange places, not falconry centre based, then they are doing a job that's way harder than most falconers ever get to do. They have to man their birds to so much more stuff, and they can never predict what the stuff's going to be. Stunt bikes, agility dogs, horses, bouncy castle, helter-skelter, loud music, carousels, just to think of a few things. They don't get to choose where they go. They tell people where they want to go, and then they're working in an arena that's small. They've got hundreds or thousands of people and dogs around them. They've got weird stuff going on. They never get to work in the same kind of environment twice. Their routine is not having a routine. And those birds have got to be manned and trained to that level to go through their routine, which is far more complicated than chasing something and catching it, far more complicated to train an eagle, a vulture to soar, or even a harrisawk and a buzzard to soar on demand, just working with a light breeze, a bit of lift, a thermal, is way harder than training a hawk to chase a rabbit. Way harder. Way more skill involved. You say, oh, buzzard, it soars naturally. Just get a common buzzard, and if you can teach it to soar high and stoop down to your glove, you are exceptionally good at falconry or training birds of prey. So I can honestly say a good display falconer understands and is a better falconer than most ordinary hunting falconers. They just have to have so much skill, so much knowledge, and understand how the birds think a lot more. They're still not bird trainers, they are, but we're still talking in the realms of falconry techniques. We're using the same techniques, we're just adapting them differently. Now, a bird that's flown for displays in the same place every day, once it's trained, is a much easier bird to work with when it comes to weight management than many hunting birds. It's easier, and many birds that have to go off-site, because once you work a bird off-site doing displays, it has to be much sharper set, even one that does it regularly, than a bird that flies on home ground. Our birds here that fly on home ground, their weight range can be way more than a really good hunting bird. We can be way less bothersome about it. It's easier weight management, definitely in that respect. You know, if a bird here doesn't come out of a tree because it's a microraptor and we've not brought its weight down as tight as you need to hunt by any means, generally it's got a transmitter on, it can get its appetite in an hour and come down then. So weight management on site is easier than falconers hunting, but weight management for birds that have to go off site usually has to be spot on. Those birds have to be pretty keen to just blank out everything around them, doesn't matter how long they've done it, and just focus on the task at hand, instant every single time. Because again, the hunting falconer whose red tail or goshawk sits up a tree are very annoying, but the guy, gal, you're there all day, it'll come down eventually by hook or by crook. You can't have birds sitting in trees doing displays if you've got a multi-bird display one after the other, because most birds of prey, one way or the other, eat other birds of prey. Kites and vultures are pretty good, they tend to scavenge, but you have to have that keen weight management. Bird trainers do things differently. When I first got my Harrisawk Nigel in 2010, he was my second ever Harrisawk, I trained him falconry. Hunting was very important to me, and I wanted him hunting to become a better bird to work with in displays and other settings. And I trained him to do all different jobs: pest control, flying to children, flying to adults, events and displays in front of hundreds of people with dog, everything. He was great at everything. But part of his initial training was bird training. I literally trained him to not kick over. He'd kick over, can't remember which way around, but let's say black flower pots. He'd understand if there was a black flower pot on the ground, he'd have a betch and a bit of food under it. He'd kick it over, get the food. And it doesn't matter how I mingled it up, he knew that brown flower pots never had food, so he only kicked those over once. After that, it would be a complete waste of his energy and calories to go knocking those pots over again, because they didn't contain food. He tried it once, there was no food. He wasn't just going, I'll kick over flower pots to find food. He learned instantly, once, one go, that black flower pots contained food, reward, brown ones never did. So we go between the brown ones to kick over the black ones. He could pull string with food on through a tube, much like you'd expect a raven to do. And people got up in arms back in 2010. These are not circus animals. No, nor are parrots and ravens, but we often use those training methods to try and understand their brain. How does their brain work? Far higher intelligent training or observations than any falconry bird, which again has a very simple basic life as a falconer. It doesn't even have to learn as much as a wild raptor hunting, because the falconry bird gets fed every time it doesn't kill that day. The wild raptor only gets 2 or 3 goes at that, and then it's died because it got too weak to hunt anymore. So probably arguably a wild bird of prey has to use more brain power than any falconer's birds. And believe me, falconer's birds use a lot of brain power. You've only got to work with even a goshawk, but certainly things like Harrisawks, to suddenly understand they've learnt from previous things. They've learnt where they've killed, they've learnt flying down a hedgerow the opposite side to the game and flipping over is better than flying down the hedgerow towards the game. They learn it really quick, but wild ones must take that to a higher level. They never get the luxury of failing for very long. Our birds can be useless all season. They still get fed, and that's all they really care about, isn't it? Very, very interesting. I've watched 1 or 2 things with people. I've seen it with caracaras, very intelligent, a little bit with vultures, and a bit with Harrisawks. Online, other people, bird trainers. They haven't got those birds to be falconers. They don't even know anything about falconry. They've got them because they train parrots and ravens, and they've decided they want a Harrisawk or a caracara because they want a bird of prey. And they've trained them, and it is quite mind-blowing how the more intelligent birds of prey, there's so much in their mind that most of us falconers have never unlocked. We've never cared to, we've never thought about it. And yet, if we understood their brains far more, we would make better falconers. because what I've learned in the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years, my falconry is completely different than it ever was before that. Because before that, it was parrot fashion, it was textbook, it was this is how you train a goshawk, this is how you get over this problem. Probably about, I don't know now, maybe 17 years ago, I just approached falconry completely differently. It was thinking about how that individual bird I'm working with is thinking, how it's thinking and what affects the way it thinks and what motivates it as an individual, not as a species. Transform my falconry. I find training birds incredibly easy. The basic training and getting a bird entered incredibly easy compared to how I did decades before. I enjoy the process and it's quite therapeutic now. In fact, I get stressed now when I first pick up a parrot-reared bird, seeing it at all stressed in any way. I can't stand that first week. I feel quite bad about it because I can't explain to the bird and reason with it, don't worry, this will be okay. You just need to, seeing that bird coming to terms with things, learning about just being tethered, for instance. I just want to be able to say, don't worry, you'll be all right, because we can't talk to them. And sometimes watching them work it out for themselves, it's more traumatic for me than it is for the bird. But otherwise, understanding how your bird thinks from an animal point of view, especially these animal trainers, it would be really interesting to work with a really good bird trainer and say, this is a Harris hawk, it's quite intelligent bird of prey. I just want to observe you train it, just train it. Nothing, no knowledge of falconry, just you train it how you train it. Positive reward, maybe clicker training, who knows, but it's different. But the person, for most of us, that person doesn't exist. Very few of us with birds of prey are just bird trainers. We're either falconers, it's the age-old thing, or display falconers. And when falconers say, if you like, talk down about display falconers, the thing many don't seem to get, which I kind of find this in an argument, they never seems to dawn on them, is that probably most display falconers, not all, are falconers as well. They still have their hunting birds, they still know everything a falconer knows, and they also do display work. They're not one or the other, they actually have another string in their, that's what I say, another string in their bow. They can train all these different birds in a completely different and difficult setting. They're still falconers. This is but I know someone that's not. Yeah, I do. I know people and staff members here that are not falconers. They're very good at what they do, training and working with birds of prey in a display setting. Look at that rabbit. But here's the thing. They almost always have to understand falconry, hunting falconry, even if they've got no interest in that side of it. Because most of the birds you work with in a team of display birds, not most of them, most teams of display birds, there's always the birds that regularly hunt, whether you want them to or not. Whether it's a Chilean blue eagle buzzard taking a crow off a cowpat, or at this time of year going into a 10-foot high fenced pheasant pen, eating poults, they've still got to A, access the pheasant pen, requires some skill, and B, trade the bird off without upsetting it. They've got to work with it every day. They've still got to do the whole falconry thing, even if it's not their thing. So we really do need to be all at once, pulling together. Field sports is already divided. I don't think field sports are going to last. I'd like to think they'll last my lifetime. I'm not sure they will. We'll see how stupid the world is, how it rotates and what changes in the next couple of decades. But we all need to be pulling together. And for falconry people to be infighting is ludicrous. A lot of people don't like... And at that point, the battery went dead. So a lot of people don't like falconry on social media. And they say, Dave, you shouldn't be doing this YouTube channel, even Facebook and things, it's terrible for falconry. What I have to understand, and what you have to understand is, it's out there. YouTube and falconry is out there. Some of what I see, a lot of what I see, falconry wise on YouTube is horrific. Sort of shameful to call yourself a hunter. Some of the stuff I see, I think, it is horrific. Full stop. But it's horrific for falconry for sure. Out there for everyone to see. Definite, 100%, if they want it, ammo for antis. So I think it's there anyway. you might as well have channels that try and show the best of falconry. Whether it's Dan Mercer, which is display falconry, whether it's Ben Woodruff, who never shows any hunting clips at all, or almost none for this reason, or this channel where we try and show a balance. I do fight with some of the stuff I put out. I edit stuff out, I put it back in, I put videos up, I take videos down to try and show a balanced view, not a horrific clickbaity thing. In the snake world, shows live feeding snake videos. Those channels get so many views, so much action, which is quite sad, isn't it? It says a lot about people. It doesn't do the snake keeping community any good at all. They're in it for themselves. They're on about getting views and clickbait and so on. So a lot of people don't like that. Equally, a lot of falconers don't like display falconers. Oh, you're showing it in a bad light. Listen, they are the people that are out there among the public. They are the people that 99% of the time they're getting the public on side. They're talking to the public about these birds of prey. I will talk most Sundays when we open about what falconry is, hunting, or where the food comes from, where the human foods come from. Almost no one walks away from those talks, and afterwards people come and have a good chat with me, and most of them say, didn't even know that. Didn't even know where my chickens actually came from. We talk to the public. It's better we're talking to the public, holding one of these magnificent birds that they're in awe of, talking frankly and honestly about falconry factually, than them not seeing us. Because if they don't see us, they're only getting the social media swamping from the antis constantly, and people believe everything they read in the newspaper, and they believe everything they see on a screen. That's why I cannot stand AI images of nature. I abhor them, because people believe it all. And I'm not talking children, I'm talking grown-ups. So whether you like it or not, mostly display falconers are the face of falconry, and they mostly get people on our side. And you say, oh, some of them tying birds on logs, shaking a tin. We all hate that. Equally, I don't really want to see falconers, often they're American, but by no means always, falconers letting a rabbit squeal while their red tail kills it, standing back, filming it, slowly dying in agony, because that's not falconry. That's what a wild bird of prey does. Falconry involves a human, a hunter. It's nothing to do with falconry, but it's portraying how falconers behave. It's portraying their complete disregard of animals' lives. And you and I know that's not true. These assholes are giving us a bad name. No different to the assholes tying owls on logs, shaking a tin with owls piled on top of each other in a public thing, passing them around so you can have a photo. It's the same. You can't say that. It's like saying, I don't like teachers because I heard one teacher on the news was a convicted paedophile. Teachers are horrible and they're bad for children. It's just ridiculous. There's bad in everything. But display falconers and hunting falconers should definitely be on the same page. And who's the best? Without doubt, it's the person that hunts through the winter and spends all summer flying display birds. Without a doubt, their knowledge and skill far exceeds anyone that just has a bird of prey for hunting. And that's a fact. Catch you soon, guys. Hope that was food for thought as always. Always nice to have a little bit of controversy, get the grey matter thinking. That's the whole point of this channel, is to get you thinking about your falconry, and of course, if you can, improving your falconry. Catch you soon. Better charge the battery up.